In today's video, we have some more NHL signings to discuss. We have a huge goal game in the Women's World Hockey Championships coming up tonight as well. We also have some more off-ice drama with Evander Kane and some updates on the trade rumors and the SJSTerritory Academy offer sheet and how the Habs will react. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a variety of NHL news to talk about here today, including some trade rumors and how the Habs are going to be handling the offer sheet situation. But before we get to that, we have a few other smaller news items to discuss here today, including a few NHL signings. Now, later yesterday, after yesterday's video was already recorded, we had a signing with the Nashville Predators in young forward Eeli Tolvanen coming to terms on a 3-year contract extension. Of course, Tolvanen had just completed his entry-level rookie contract and now was eligible for a new one as an RFA. He gets signed, like I said, on a 3-year deal. The average annual value is going to be $1.45 million. Of course, it's a one-way deal all the way through. No big surprise there. Tolvanen finally last season, after a bit of a slow start, you could say, with his development, primarily played the entire year in the NHL, putting up 11 goals and 11 assists for 22 points in 40 games. He had previously played 25 games over in the KHL before the NHL season was starting up. So he actually had himself a pretty decent year. Of course, Tolvanen came into the NHL with a lot of hype and fanfare after a really solid finish to his junior career when he signed with the Predators and made the jump from the KHL, but just never really got going. Had a fair bit of time in the minors. Last year was, 2 years ago, I should say, like 1920 for him, which seems like an eternity ago before COVID shut everything down. He was actually doing quite well in the American Hockey League, spent a whole year kind of developing, which is, I think, what he really needed. And then last year was really able to I wouldn't call it a breakthrough per se, but certainly a breakthrough in a sense that he was able to stick in the NHL and get himself a full-time spot, which was something that was huge for his development. We also saw one of the high picks from the 2021 NHL Draft. Number 9 overall, Dylan Gunter, signed his entry-level contract with the Arizona Coyotes. Of course, the Coyotes acquired that high selection via trade just prior to the draft, so they had multiple first-rounders. Of course, Dylan Gunter was one of the top offensive players, one of the best shooters in this draft, and certainly be interesting to see what happens with him. I would imagine he'll likely go back and play another season in the Western Hockey League with the Edmonton Oil Kings. I don't think the Coyotes really at this point are interested in being a better team. Like they brought in a lot of veteran players on some really bad contracts, so I don't think that that's really what they're looking for this year. I think it's probably best for him to, put in some more time in junior, considering how short last year was. Probably at least one more year before we see Gunter play any kind of regularity in the NHL. Now, at the end of the season, as things are wrapping up, you never know. He could possibly get called up and brought in, and we'll see what happens. The Hawks have also signed defenseman Connor Murphy on a contract extension. He was entering the final year of his deal that pays him $3.85 million. He's actually getting paid $4 million for the coming year, but his cap hits $3.85, and he signs a 4-year extension with an average annual value of 4.4. So that's a slight bump in pay for Murphy, who's been with the Hawks now for parts of 4 seasons. Obviously came over from the Arizona Coyotes prior to that. It's been a pretty steady member of their blue line back there. I know after all the moves they had made, certainly wondered if who was going to go and who was going to stay with this blue line, and Murphy certainly appears to be one of their preferred guys to keep around. He's got good size, 6'4", 212 pounds, 28-year-old right shot defenseman, so certainly a pretty decent extension there for Chicago and Connor Murphy. Now, as I mentioned as well, we also have a huge game tonight in World Championship Hockey for the women. It's a big game for the gold medal. Once again, no big surprise between Team Canada and Team USA. This is a long time coming after all the setbacks they had having this tournament last year. Then, of course, it was supposed to happen earlier this year in Halifax, and then the Nova Scotia provincial government canceled on them last minute because of COVID restrictions and reasons that didn't really make a ton of sense to a lot of people, but nonetheless, it happened. The tournament's been going on now in Alberta for the last number of days, and we're now ready for the grand finale. So once again, another battle basically almost 24 months in the making here between Team Canada and Team USA here for another gold medal matchup. So certainly if you're a hockey fan, I don't care if you normally watch women's hockey or not, this is going to be one heck of an entertaining game. They always put on a really solid, terrific show. They have some high-end players, and I really recommend that. I'm not sure what the viewing options are in the United States, but I know in Canada it's on broadcast on TSN tonight. Starting at 7:30 Eastern time. So I do highly recommend you check out that game, especially, what other options do you have to watch a great hockey game at this time in August, almost September, right? So check that out. And before we jump into the rest of today's video, I do want to pause for a moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. Of course, with Manscaped, we have a special offer here for all Top Shelf Hockey viewers where you can get 20% off and free shipping on all orders at manscaped.com. Now, of course, Manscaped just launched a brand new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is a fantastic product. They've taken the level up here, even again with the skin-safe replaceable blades. It's waterproof, it's wireless charging, has a travel lock on it, as well as a nice light so you don't miss what you're doing. So certainly a terrific product. Now, many people associate Manscaped with their trimmers, which is certainly kind of their top product, but they do have a lot of other great options as well, including what they call the Weed Whacker, which is another trimmer for your ears and nose. And they have a variety of deodorants and sprays as well, which also keep you fresh and are terrific as well. So certainly Manscaped has a lot to offer, and we certainly highly recommend all of their products. So check out manscaped.com and use promo code TSH for 20% off and free shipping. So thanks very much for watching our promotional content. I greatly appreciate it. Also want to quickly remind you that today is the last day for our shirt sale. Obviously, or actually the whole, it applies to all merchandise in the store, but it's mostly been hoodies. These hoodies have been selling like at a really solid rate. I do greatly appreciate all your support, but I'll add the graphic to the screen here on one of the sides so you see the promo codes. Obviously, there will be future promotions coming up in the near future, so stay tuned for that. If you didn't buy one on this go round, of course, the store is always open anyways, but might as well buy it on promotion, save some money when you can, right? So obviously, that'll end tonight at midnight Eastern time, and then we will move on to the next one here, which I'll advise you of here hopefully sometime in the probably next week or two. Now, moving on to the rest of the content here, we also have an update on Evander Kane. Yes, Evander Kane is making more news, and once again, for all the wrong reasons, except this time it's not really, I guess, so bad, but it's just another interesting twist and turn to the situation involving all of the off-ice drama he's been dealing with here. Just to quickly recap, if you're not familiar, if you haven't watched all the content, basically Evander Kane has had a fairly interesting summer, and not in good ways. Evander Kane's been accused by his soon-to-be ex-wife of gambling on NHL games, and not only NHL games, but games that he's participated in as well, which would be certainly prohibited and could get him banned if it turned out to be true. They're going through a messy divorce. Unfortunately, they do have a young child, which unfortunately the child will always be the one that's hurt the most out of all this. It's really sad to see that. Of course, he's gone through a very public bankruptcy as well. He does have a bit of a documented issue with gambling, it appears, because we've had different casinos in different places come after him for unpaid debts before, which is kind of what drove the bankruptcy to be where it is. And of course, he also has another lady that is suing him for basically the money that he was supposed to pay her, so she alleges. And like I said, everything's not proven at this point, but it's been given the go-ahead by the bankruptcy judge to be included as part of the proceedings here. So there must be some sort of evidence to suggest there could be something to it, but that he had paid her, or was supposed to pay her, I should say, to abort a child that she was pregnant with of his, and that they've had an on-again, off-again relationship. I'm not sure how long exactly, but this has happened apparently multiple times, where she's been pregnant with his child and he's paid her to abort. I don't know the full details of what's gone on in the past, but I believe this is alleged to be the third time that it's taken place, and he was reportedly supposed to pay her between $2 and $3 million, which I find somewhat hard to believe. Unless he's making big promises he can't live up to, because with the bankruptcy and everything going on, I just don't see how he'd have that kind of money to do that. He makes $7 million a year, but with the amount of debts this guy's, including in bankruptcy, it's pretty crazy situation. It's pretty hard to wrap your mind around how a $7 million per year person can end up in that spot, right? But I guess if you're not managing things well and you're reckless, you have some bad habits, things can spiral out of control rather quickly, and he does have a reputation for those sorts of things. So we'll see. But the latest here is that he apparently has a restraining order filed against his wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, for physical abuse. And apparently this was filed before she dropped the bombs on the internet accusing him of the gambling on NHL games and, I guess trying to, manipulate the outcomes, I guess we could say, in order to gain money and work with bookies and that kind of stuff. So to me, I don't know. I mean, I know he's got a gambling history, so to some degree there could be some truth to it. But like I said before, he was the San Jose Sharks' most productive player this past year. Most nights was their best player. I don't really see how he could have been manipulating them to lose, because he was like, which is easier to do than it is to win, because it takes a lot more than one guy to win a hockey game, right? So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, it's hard to imagine that, a athlete that's his size could be abused. But, these things do happen. It's not completely unheard of. That's why there's a justice system, right? To go through, show your evidence, prove what happened, and get your justice, hopefully. I mean, if everything works out the way it's supposed to within that system. But it's just another crazy turn here. I'm not going to sit here and say what I think is true or not true or anything like that, because that's not my place. I don't have enough evidence to really make judgment calls. Like I said before, if things didn't look good for what was being said about him, but doesn't mean it's all true, right? Everybody deserves their day in court. Everybody deserves to be, kind of considered innocent until proven guilty. And I don't know. It's just another crazy turn in the off-ice drama here that we weren't aware of in the Kane situation. I know Kevin Kurz, who covers the Sharks for The Athletic, was recently asked again about the trade rumors, about the Sharks trying to move him, and he kind of come to the conclusion here that, which is not a shocker, wouldn't take much, and I've come to this conclusion myself, I mentioned it before, that they're basically stuck with Kane, that there's just no way they're going to be able to trade him, considering he's being investigated by the NHL for the gambling allegations, and all the off-ice stuff, and not just a bankruptcy, because that alone I think wouldn't be enough to deter all NHL teams. But he's just coming with so much, extracurricular baggage right now that needs to be cleared up. And even if it can all be cleared up, it's a lot, right? And it's high risk. There's 4 years left, $7 million a year. Nobody in their right mind is going to touch that. So how do the Sharks handle this, especially with the reports that we also saw to make this situation even more dramatic, I guess, and even more just complicated, is that Sharks teammates have gone to management not only during the offseason, but like before the season was ever done, and said he has to go. And if he's here, I don't want to be here. So that really complicates things in that Sharks dressing room. So I really don't know how they're going to handle this. I mean, Kerr said, maybe they put him through waivers. They try to talk to, either bury him in the minors, but say he doesn't have to report, basically. So they get like $1 million cap relief. He doesn't have to play. He can sit up the season, basically, get all his legal stuff sorted out, and kind of go from there. Maybe if things do get sorted out, they can find a trade for him at that point in time. I don't know. But like I said, it's real messy, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the Sharks go about trying to handle this here in the coming weeks as training camp begins to open. Now, lastly here, I want to touch on the latest on the Jesperi Kotkaniemi situation, the offer sheet, the Habs, the trade rumors. Like I said, obviously, there's a lot of speculation out there about what Montreal is going to do. And the latest out there, according to a variety of sources, is that Montreal is really seriously considering not matching and letting Kotkaniemi go to Carolina and accepting the first and third round pick that would come as compensation. Now, Eric Engels was on the radio, Sportsnet radio earlier today, and he said that the latest that he's hearing is that that's what is likely. I mean, of course, until the decision's made, it's not made, right? So, you don't want to quote a reporter and have the report go side, because it can happen, right? So we can't say with absolute certainty, but I know I've run a poll on YouTube here on the community tab. I've run a poll on Twitter over the past 2 days. I've had thousands of people respond. I can't remember the exact total, but between the two polls, there's at least a few thousand people. And I think it's 80-85% feel that the offer sheet should not be matched. So we'll see if the Habs do what the bulk of people think they should do. And then, of course, the many feel that they're going to take that compensation and then maybe combine it with something else if need be and go after another center. Now, Ingles mentioned that he felt there was a lot of talk that the Habs were working on a Christian Dvorak trade and having conversations with the Arizona Coyotes. So if they take that compensation coming from Kotkaniemi, will that be enough? Do they have to add one more piece to it? Maybe a prospect or something? I don't think it would have to be a real high-level prospect considering they're already getting two decent picks. But that very well could be something that takes place. And to me, like I said, it makes a lot of sense if they are going to let him go, because most would agree that he's not a $6 million player today. Could he be someday? Maybe. There's also a lot of people feel that the Habs didn't do him any justice on how they handled his development either, and that the first year he shouldn't have been in the NHL, should have either played in Finland or another option to continue developing to better prepare him for the league and all that. And you know what? That's a topic for another day. But no matter what should have been done or was done, is he a $6 million player today? The answer, I think everybody would say no. But do you overpay with the hopes that he can become that in the not too distant future and make him a part of your core? I mean, you know, obviously there does appear to be the fact that he doesn't seem to be totally happy there either. A combination of how he's been developed, the healthy scratches last year, in and out of the lineup. Is he part of the future? Is he not? I'm sure his feelings are mixed too. So maybe it is best that he go to Carolina and they do go after another guy like a Dvorak. He's a little bit older, a little bit more established. He's going to give you a similar type of player in a sense that they wanted Kotkaniemi to be like that 200-foot player, two-way player at the center ice position. You know, obviously pitching offensively. And Dvorak could be that hard-checking guy. Might be a great fit. So right now, that's the latest. That's what they're rumored to be working on and leaning towards doing. But we'll find out for sure here soon enough. They have 7 days from the time the offer sheet was signed to make their decision. So they still have plenty of time left. Let me know your thoughts on what you think they'll do down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.